Welcome to Junior's Dreams Education channel. Today we are going to continue our lesson on Photoshop designing, and we are going to look at how we can design a simple church flyer again, as we are still on the church flyers. Before you start, please subscribe to my channel to get weekly videos on Photoshop and website development. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to click on Ctrl N to create our canvas or working space, and I'm going to use the 3x3 with a resolution of 300. So I'm going to click on create. So when I create, this is the canvas or my working space. So I'll start my designing by bringing in all the materials I want to use for this design. So I'll first of all go in for my background image. So the background image I'm going to use is this image. So I'm going to transform this image out and then go in for my other image. So Ctrl T and transform it to cover the page. I'll then go in for my other images. So I'm going to use this image as the next image, and I'm going to transform this image to out. So I'm going to select a blending option for this image. I'm going to use the soft light and then go in for the last image or the next image as this image, and I'm going to also, so let me position this image here, and I'm going to choose a blending mode or a blending option for it, option for this image. So I'm going to use the linear light for it, the lighting. I'm going to use this one as the blending mode or the blending option. So I'll then decrease the fill in to somewhere about 70, no, let me make it somewhere about 50, and then press enter and reduce the opacity to somewhere about 80 and press enter. So now actually this is the background I'm going to use for this design. So the next thing I'll be doing is I'm going to go in for the shape tools, and I'm going to draw a small rectangle for this side. As usual, most of the time I normally use rectangles for my designs. So this place is okay for now. So I'm going to put in some text within this rectangle. I'm going to choose no color for the inside and set the stroke to somewhere about 10. Then I'm going to press enter. Select the stroke to be white. Then I'll press enter. So after that, I'm going to position it to somewhere like here. Okay. So I'm just going to make a copy of this by clicking on Alt and then drag it with the move tool. I'm going to position it here as the second rectangle. So I'll be putting in some text within this rectangle. So I'm going to go in for my text tool and give out all the text. For these are the text. So now I'm done with the text aspect. So for the vertical text, you just go in for the text tool and you set it to vertical. So when you bring it here, you can write in vertical form. And for horizontal, you select the horizontal and you see as the icon look like. So the next thing we are going to do is to provide the text effect for the text or editing format, editing part for this text. So I'm going to select my first layer, which is the preparing, and I'm going to use the font family Rockwell Extra Bold, and I'm going to choose a font family of 30, font size of 30. 30 is too much, so I'm going to reduce it to somewhere about 20. 4, and I'm going to increase the height to 200%, and after that I'm going to position it here. So preparing for the, I'm going to select the next layer, which is the further. So I'm going to maintain that same font family as the Rockwell, but I'm going to increase the font size to, think the 30 is still too much. And then let me position it here. So the next thing is I'll select the coming to and choose a font size, set it to the same 24, but I'm going to increase the height to somewhere about 150, and then press enter and position it here. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to maintain the font size for this text is 12, and I'm going to maintain that. At the same time, the font family, which is the Rockwell, so I'm still going to maintain it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position them. So I'm going to select the move tool and start positioning them. So now I'm done with positioning these tests. So the next thing is I'm going for my last image, which is an image of a Bible, and I'm going to position that one to here. So I'll just right click and then rasterize, go to Windows properties to remove the background. So please, if you've not subscribed to the channel, do well to subscribe it to get weekly videos on Photoshop and website development. So now the background has been removed. I'm going to click on Ctrl T and I'm going to transform it in. So I'm going to put it here. Press enter to deactivate the selection, and I'll then go in for the text tool and I'm going to put in some small text at that part. So let me choose the color to be black. Let me actually use this color. So actually that's the quotation from the Bible. I quote and I'm giving out the quotation. So the color, this text color, I don't like this one. So let me check. Okay, so I'm going to use this text color for this part. I'll click OK. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these tests and provide a color effect for them. So I'm going to group them. preparing for the second coming as one test. Then you select them and group it through. This is not part of that layer. Then after selecting the layers, you click on join. Then I'm going to name it as preparing. Press enter and I'm going to select an image to produce or give out the color effect. So let me right click and flip it horizontal. Now rotate it 90 degrees to cover the text. And then I'm going to right click and click on create clipping mask. So after this one, I'm going to, let me check the blending options. So I'm going to use the multiply blending mode, and I'm going to at the same time add a texture effect to this part. So for the texture effect, let me try adjusting it. So actually I'm going to use this, and I'll then click on OK. So preparing for the second coming. And the next thing is I'm going to select the other text to this text, and I'm going to group that one too and provide a color for it. Then click on control. I'm going to name it as behold as the first word. So I'm going to use the first word to name it. Press enter and then go in for the images to provide text effect or text color for it. So I'm then going to right click and then click on create clipping mask to get the color effect or the text color out. So I'm going to check the blending option. So actually I'm going to use the pin light as my blending mode. So I'm done with this flyer. So the next thing I'm going to do is, let me just increase the size for this text too. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to set the text size to somewhere about 14. So 14 is okay. And let me position it here. So I am the way, the truth, and the life. It's just the quotes are just added to make our message more convincing. So let me select this layer too and position it here. Now I think we're almost done with the flyer. So I'm going to select all the layers and add a general effect to it. So after selecting them, I'm going to name it as all. and I'm going to add little curve, small one to it. This is okay. Then let me go back and I'm going to add some levels. So I'm going to set it to let me make it increase contrast 3. Then adjust this one. Let me adjust these two to this side and adjust the red to little bit. So I think this one is now okay. So this is for RGB color. That's the red, green, blue color is what we are adjusting here. So the next thing is let me go and add lastly. Okay, let's work on the hue and saturation to see the effect we can add to it. Now this is not cool. So this is okay. Okay, so let's maintain this, the saturation to here and the lightness to this part. So this is to, let me add little shadow to it. So now we are done with this flyer. This is our final design for this part. So thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get weekly videos on Photoshop and website development. Thank you. Goodbye.